Okay, after section 4 is section 5, and this is another super easy one. We just have 2 border blocks to do. And again, we are going to sew these together, and so you probably want to have your batting together. I didn't realize that when I was cutting. This is my first time pre-cutting an entire quilt, and I'm so glad that I did it. And I used my little bags to store it all, and it's been so convenient to have it already done and to keep everything clutter-free. My craft room has been so organized. But I did make that mistake of not realizing that the 2 of these are going to be sewn together, and so that means that you actually want a different size batting, but up to you. So let's talk about these. So number 39 is the purple doodle fabric and backed with fusible stabilizer, and we want this one cut to 2.5 by 2.5. I cut mine a little bit larger. On the blocks that I could cut them a little bit larger, I did. So if you did that, make sure that you cut them down to size before sewing all the pieces together. So I did it on some and not on others, so it's going to be a little bit confusing, but like on this one, there just wasn't any extra. In fact, you can see on the black and white stripes, on all of my black and white stripes except one, they were a little bit short, and so I used the fusible stabilizer as my guide of what size that the actual block should be. So 2.5 by 2.5 for each of these. This one looks bigger, but it will be cut down. I haven't found that there's a big purpose in making them larger than you need to be, and I did that just in case. But I want to point out, if you're backing these with fusible stabilizer, especially a good fusible stabilizer, and you're just quilting them, it really does not pull. In my opinion, you really don't need to make them larger than the final cut size, because it just does not pull as much. If you were doing heavy embroidery on it, or maybe even an applique, maybe not, but for a simple quilting, you really don't need it any bigger than the actual size that you're going to use. So that's just my opinion, something that I have been finding as I'm working on this quilt. So on this, like I said, we're going to sew these together and then we are going to quilt it. And so that means that we want to use a quilting design that is 2 by 4, and we're going to use the horizontal in hollowing 3. So 2 by 4 after these are sewn together in hollowing 3 for these. And like I said, it's easiest if you get a piece of batting that is 3 by 5 for this, or you can do these, but I'm just going to save these for another time and get a piece of batting that's 3 by 5, because that'll be easier once these are sewn together. So just these 2 pieces that will become one, and so really we just have one border block to quilt on section 4, and we're all done with section 4. All right, time for section 5. So section 5 is very simple also. We just have 2 simple blocks to do. And so the first one is number 41, and it is that velveteen. So like I said before, if you want to use a water-soluble stabilizer, you can use the iron away stabilizer that is recommended in the booklet. But some people had some issues with ironing it and getting it off of the velveteen specifically. So try and tear away as much of it as you can. Do what works for you. I'm just going to use water soluble on it to do my quilting, and that should work fine. And like I said, if you have a water bottle, you can use that if there's any that you can't get away from your block for the extra stabilizer. So on this 2.5 by 2.5, and then we want a piece of batting that's at least 3 by 3. And for this one, we are going to quilt it using Halloween 1. Oh, that's the spider. So that will be hard to get all of the quilting away on that. So I would definitely not use that iron away personally. It's up to you. But Halloween 1 on this little velveteen scrap, and we are going to choose a quilting design that is 2 by 2, and you're batting 3 by 3. And that is for number 41. So all right, and so for number 42, it's the adorable flags. And remember, this is directional, so just make sure that you've got it in the direction that you want it to be. And we're going to cut this one to 2.5 by 4.5 and back it with fusible stabilizer. And we're going to quilt it. So we want our batting. This was 3 by 5 for the batting, 3 by 5. And for our quilting design on this, we're going to use wavy 2 in 2 by 4 in horizontal. So wavy 2, horizontal 2 by 4, and just those 2 simple blocks, and we'll have section 5 all put together. Okay, it's the last section, section 6. And we, again, 2 simple blocks to do today for section 6. So on these, we are going to sew them together. So right now you want them to be 2.5 by 2.5. One of them is that velveteen, and one of them is the purple with black bats. Don't back the velveteen with fusible stabilizer, but do back the bats. And then after we get them all sewn together, we'll quilt them. So on this one, like I said, I did 2 pieces of batting, but you're not going to want that. So on the quilting for this, we're going to use Halloween 1, which is the spider webs, and we're going to do it in 2x4. So it's, like I said, these two will be sewn together in 2x4 for the quilting, and Halloween 1, and then we want a piece of batting that is 3x5 instead of the little blocks. It'll be easier to just save these for another project down the road and instead use a 3x5 batting piece. So you do want to use some WSS water soluble stabilizer on the velveteen. That's what I've heard anyway. I'm gonna look and see if I have a scrap and just see if it, because generally you use this water soluble on like fleece or minky, things that the stitches will drop down into the pile. And velveteen's pretty thin. I don't know why we really need it. So I'll be curious to check that. If I have an extra scrap, I'll see. But at this point, water soluble on top, so you can go ahead and do it on top of both. And that's it. That's section 6. And then we will start piecing together section 6 and then all of the sections together. And then it'll be time to start working on the borders, the inner and outer borders. So we're really getting there. Let's do section 6.